Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Michael Wilkes, Angel Ortiz, Dr. Chad, and Sam La Cavera. Go check out beardedbrowns.com and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, everybody? We're here. We made it. Some of us a little later than normal, but either way, we are here. We are live. We're going to talk about this wonderful game that happened this past Sunday. We're going to talk about good, bad, and ugly. We're going to try to blame somebody for the loss this week. It's going to be a crazy, insane show. Let me tell you, we got a lot to talk about. But first, let's get into something a little more pressing. It's called winning. The Cleveland Guardians. They lost today, 2-1, nail biter. But nonetheless, they came back for 15 and a half games behind with like a month or so left in the season to take the division and have home field for the first round of wild card. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that insane to think? They're 15 games up. People are just write them off, say, oh, they're done. And they just made up ground.
I am looking for like whatever t-shirt one of Cleveland's companies are like rolling out to commemorate this. All I could think of, the team's not for sale, but this literally played out like exactly like my favorite movie, Major League, where it's like they're out of it, they don't have a chance, and they do the whole like, well, here's our magic number, here's how many games we have to win to make the playoffs, and it's like 15, and there's 17 games left, and they just ripped them off one after another. And so like in the cloudy, bleak world of Browns fandom, there's this glowing silver light over in the background of like, you just had a Cleveland team do one of the most amazing things a sports team has ever done
in history.
And
Yep.
This is the biggest comeback lead a team has ever done to win their pennant. And the annoying thing is they dropped one today to the Tigers in a 3-game series. So now they have to win 2 in a row, another big ask in order to stay in this. But like, I just think like, I hope they do it. I still have faith they'll do it. But if they don't, like nothing deletes the story that this team was when somebody like me watching the Browns really needed some positivity. And so it was really fun watching them. I love these guys. Their manager is obviously, you know, you drop off from Tito Francona and the manager, you're like, how can he live up to what Tito did? And now it's like, oh, that's pretty amazing. So I don't know how many Browns fans out there are like huge Guardians fans, but like this team is still pretty young, and it's time to get on board, man. This team is year after year has just been really competitive, really fun to watch. By the way, Browns fans, front office and ownership, they made the playoffs 7 out of the last 10 years, a 70% playoff execution in the last decade. We made it twice in the last, whatever it was, 15.
Yeah, and they don't spend a lot of money doing it. They're the cheapest team in the NBA and the NBA.
Do it well.
Yep, they know they know how to scout. They know how to get the pitchers.
I should have went to that last game today and then left at like the 8th inning, and maybe we would have pulled it off.
It would have been, that would have been gold.
Yeah, because that's what happened with the Browns game. Nonetheless, speaking of the Browns, let's get into some Browns news. Shout out to our Guardians. Thank you for making our summer fun. Hopefully you let our October even be better. But we're going to get into some Browns news first. First things first. The Browns address a huge need. That is Cam Robinson for less than a 6th round pick, left tackle. Guys, this isn't like the answer, but it's a lot better than Jones. I think we're going to see some improvement from the left side of this line. I'm not super excited. I'm a little relieved. I'm a little more
That's-
hopeful than I was watching Detroit literally run over what guy was that left tackle? I forgot his name. But yeah.
Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas. Yeah,
Cornelius
Lucas.
Lucas,
Yeah.
Cornelius Lucas, yeah.
Which,
But,
by the way, the worry for me on Cam Robinson, and I don't have huge worries. The guy's he's been like a beacon of consistency. He's never lived up to what they hoped he would be when they drafted him at like 30. The Jaguars drafted him 34th overall like 7 years ago. And the goal was he's their starting left tackle. He works into his position. He started left tackle for them his rookie season. He has started 102 until 2 weeks ago. He had started 102 of 102 games at left tackle for the Jaguars and then the Vikings and now the Texans. Then he missed the last two, so he started 102 out of 104 games. The only worry is his resume looks exactly like Cornelius Lucas's, where like you can look over the last 4 years and he's just a steady starting person. The only difference was he was starting. Cornelius Lucas was kind of bouncing in and out of the lineups and was a swing tackle. But reality is strikes in that Lucas is 32 or whatever he is. I guess Cam Robinson's only 29, but the idea is he's probably not getting better now. So realistically, like you just hope you don't get in a situation with Lucas where you thought, well, worst case scenario, he'll be at least decent. And then Lucas went out there last week and gave up more pressures than the other Browns tackles combined in earlier games in the year. And they also weren't good. But he gave up like a record number of pressures this week in the NFL.
yeah,
No.
Flacco was pressured 42.4% this past week against those Lions.
He
That's the
alone gave
fifth
up like
highest.
28 or
Yeah.
something like that. And on his side, somebody on a PFF pod or something was like, this was the most pressures given up this year and probably for several years by a single tackle. And I'm like, oh my God, man. After we're
Yeah.
complaining about Jed Wills and like Dewan Jones is having a terrible start, and then you have Lucas, who's supposed to be steady, come in and just get smoked. But anyways, I think you have the right mentality. This should be a relief because no matter what, this boosts the room with either the injuries or the bad play. Now you have another option who has been very steady, who's under 30, who, if he's good enough, maybe you can extend him and keep him around as a backup in the future or something. But like for this year alone, this was a no-brainer for a 7th round in him for a 6th. Like, okay, in
Yeah.
2 years,
Yeah, the left tackle's been an issue, obviously, the last 2 years. So now we're
huge.
finally taking some.
I mean, the
Move
reality
here,
is
it looks
these
like,
guys
so.
just usually aren't even available. I had so many conversations on Twitter today, like or on X. How were you able to get him? Like why? Like what are we missing? Because this Texans team is not like they have the strongest line ever. My only hunch is the guy that has his spot is on the left is a rookie and he was a 2nd round pick and they really want him to be the future. And there's another backup tackle on that team who's a little bit better than Cam Robinson,
Yeah.
who would be your backup left tackle, which means he would be technically your 3rd string left tackle. He's not happy. I would guess he's not happy with his role after being picked up by them and won it out. And they said, you know what? You're not part of our future anyway. So let's just get anything before.
Yeah. They did a
30.
6-7 swap in him.
Mhm.
On to more news. This news locally. Larva Dane and Corley, wide receivers, got elevated to from the practice squad, while Carter and Tillman are on IR. That's not good for Tillman. I mean, he's been hurt a lot.
All 3 years.
All
All
3
3 years he's
years.
missed games.
And I look for Bond to step in wide receiver 2 now, and he probably won't let that go because he's been playing really well with the limited amount of snaps that he's received.
With only 1 more year in his contract, Tillman may have. I mean, he might only be out for a month. It's not like the end of the world. And last year, when he was healthy, he played really well. But he might have just walked himself out of his chance to be wide receiver 2 here. Like
Yep.
you might be right. Bond, they love Bond. Bond stunk his first 3 weeks here, and he should have. He had no idea what he was doing. This week, Bond outplayed Tillman even before that injury, and at a 21-year-old who has missed all of camp and just got in like as the Browns started the season, like right before they played. For him to outplay anybody at wide receiver is a really good sign for him and a bad sign for the rest of the room.
Yep.
It shouldn't happen.
Mike, your guy Larberdane's getting stepped on. I'm going to assume they're going to put him at returner because Carter being out. Yep.
Yeah, and also I do think he's a useful potential slot. I don't think it's like he has
for
no
sure.
role, but I think he's probably behind Thrash. And then they also elevated Malachi Corley, and I posted like
I
when we
forgot.
signed Corley, I almost forgot we had signed him, but I remember when we picked him up, he was one of those guys who we'll see if I'm right or not, but who I have some upside hope for because he was a very good college prospect that I was interested in when it came draft time. And then he goes, to the Jets. And when I see people fail at the Jets, much like I felt with Sam Darnold and others, when you see people fail for the Jets, you have to keep in mind the Jets have been a Browns level bad organization, and failure there doesn't necessarily mean you're bad, and regime changes kick guys from other regimes out. So sometimes guys just get brought in, doesn't kick off, and they get brought out. Just like both of the receivers drafted last year in New England were out because now they have new leadership who are going a different direction, and you want your own guys in there. And if you're not a star, you're expendable. So I would say don't have high hopes for the start of Malachi Corley, but
Hopefully they
I wouldn't
develop
be
him.
shocked if he's a useful developmental piece at his age.
He's fast, so they like fast guys.
Like I said, coming out of college, he was like a legit second round prospect to a lot of people. And so like it
And
would
if
be
you look at
crazy
the
just to
Jets
assume like
situation, they had Rodgers there, and he's probably like, I don't like starting young guys. I want veterans around me. So that could have hampered him a little
doesn't
bit.
love playing with the kids. And another
Yeah.
thing I can say too for this kid is you basically just look at like the type of need a team has, and the Browns need speed at receiver and they need depth at receiver. So, there's no downside to this. They got him up for free. He made it off the practice squad in, 3 weeks in order to get on the roster. And like, am I thinking that he has just as much of a shot to succeed as somebody like Tillman and more than Carter? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's
Probably.
speed wins. On to the last news of the day. Cam Mitchell got waived, rightfully so. He's probably the guy that was struggling over there in the slot, but they signed Amari Speed to the practice squad. Speed. It's a good last
Good
name.
name.
You want Speed as a corner, so hopefully
A
you
bit
can.
like David Bell.
Yeah.
Stainbrook and Cam Wolf just reported it looks like the change will happen, joining early reports from the Rizzo and CBS official. Word expected tomorrow.
For
Who's that
Dylan
from?
Don Fowler just posted that. Stainbrook
From
and Cam Wolf just reported it looks like the change will happen, joining early reports from Rizzo and CBS, both. Official word expected tomorrow.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can get into that because we were talking about when to talk about that. So I'll just full disclosure, I was just talking to Don before the show. We were just going back and forth, and he asked me what I thought about the Rizzo report, and I basically said like I'm not going to say that like Rizzo is off his rocker. My only question would be like I don't know who the source is, and I know none of these guys have as good of sources as they had a couple years ago before the Browns basically just locked
shut
out
everything
everybody.
down. Yep.
And so my question was, I will be ready to consider this news when somebody outside of Rizzo or who isn't
Locally.
pointing to Rizzo,
Yeah.
So like Brad is local, but like when somebody else confirms the source, but other than Rizzo, so not just pointing to Rizzo, but saying
somebody
like I
like
also
Adam
talked to
Scheffler, somebody like
well, and then we'll see
Rappaport.
because if Brad's been pretty accurate and he does have his guys in the building.
Yeah.
My question right now is just their sources might be telling them this, but I just know these sources aren't as good as they used to be. So now with them and with others like Wolf, like now all of a sudden you're getting like, okay, is the same person telling them all this? And then if that's true, it should spread to everybody. And I'm almost surprised they announced it. I thought, knowing how tricky this front office is, I could see them hiding this news as much as possible. Nobody's going to see them practicing in London, so I thought they would just keep this quiet. And I also thought, this is my conspiracy theory brain. Are they letting some of this information out because they want the Vikings not to know for sure who to prepare for? Because the Vikings are already there. They have the edge. They're sitting in the UK already. So, with like Rizzo sources, I'm like, did the Browns leak that they might make a change so that it gets out there? So now the Vikings are going, we got to prep for Dylan. And then they trot Black off. So I'm just waiting until an official announcement because I could see them playing a little, how the Browns love to play their 3D chess. So
I wonder if my conspiracy brain says, is there a struggle with power and it's coming out through the person that wants Dylan, or maybe knows there's a better chance. By the way, if the report's out there, that person that wants Flacco is kind of take the back seat. I wonder if there's a power struggle
So-
in the building.
it's a good thought. Let's run through it though real quick. So that would be between Kevin and Barry, right? That's the only two people that make sense.
Or their owner.
Unless I guess technically, but unless unless like the Kevin doesn't want to make a switch yet, but maybe like Tommy Reese is like, dude, come on, let's do something. Hard to imagine it's within the coaching staff as much as it would be like maybe
front office
and leadership versus coaching. So in that case, who do we think, like, is everybody pretty on board with who they think like Kevin's guy is?
Yeah, I think everybody think it's I'm pretty sure it's Dylan, right? So but my thing is like, is Kevin comfortable with the timing in which they start him because of where they're going? Not because of the game. Off. Yeah.
You're totally right. That would throw people. I think some people say it must be Kevin that wants Dylan because Dylan was Kevin's guy, and they made that very clear. Like, not saying Barry doesn't like him, but saying like, we know Kevin really likes him. I think that leads me to think maybe Kevin's the one being protective of him because Kevin sees him in practice every day. The person who probably needs to see him, who doesn't see him as much, would be the front office, the ownership, and Barry, because they're the ones who need to make future decisions. So I always say, like, the fans want to see these guys, but the coaches do see them every day.
Yeah.
The coach knows in the film room, is he getting these coverages? Is he getting the defensive breakdown? Does he know this playbook? Can he rattle off the plays and call them in the huddle? The people who don't know that is everybody else. So I think it would be much more likely Kevin would be the one protecting him and saying, I just want him to go out there when it's best for him, even compared to the whole team. And I would think it would be the front office. I think you would agree there. That would say, I really want to see this kid because I need to know.
I'll say this. If he does start, and maybe that's why they got the left tackle right away to kind of shore that up. I do think you're going to see a quicker offense, and I think a lot of Kevin haters are going to kind of slowly flip, because I think a lot of plays that he was calling are going to be correct. Not to put it all on Joe Flacco. I was talking to Dustin from Here We Go Brownies about this. I don't think it's all Flacco. I think it's, and I do think it's some of the line. I do think it's Flacco's decision making and how he throws the ball and where he's throwing it, specifically that long pass against Detroit this past week.
Yeah.
And
I think I agree with you. And any fans that are really paying attention should never just be pointing at one person. And that comes from me, who definitively says the biggest problem is Flacco. Even I recognize
that line.
Flacco's not making the job easier for the receivers, and that probably leads to more issues with the receivers. Even more so, he's making it very hard on the tackles. But that doesn't excuse, the receivers should still catch the ball. The tackles should still hold their block.
That's why. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If Flacco was better, he would help them.
You were in that game in Detroit. Fannin dropped the ball. In the next play, Judy dropped the ball. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't put it. It's not all on Flacco, because Dylan can still throw those balls, and if they can't catch it, you're gonna still blame Dylan. Right. So I'm saying, like, you need to understand, like, this. It's a collective thing here. It's a whole offensive issue. It's not
I
just
will
one
say we saw
quarterback.
drops last year with when we saw more drops last year when Watson was struggling than when Jameis came in. And I think some of it, and again, it's not an excuse for the receivers. They need to be better, but it feels to me like a stroke in basketball. If you keep getting the ball thrown to you and you get to start getting in a rhythm with your threes, I always
Yeah.
get the feeling you get a rhythm, you make them. Much like a receiver, if you get the ball consistently thrown on target to you, you get a rhythm with your quarterback, you make better catches. It doesn't excuse you missing threes, but if nobody will pass you the ball and then all of a sudden the guard just hits you with a throw in a pressure moment for a three and you tank it, you're just like, well, I'd feel better if I'd gotten 6 shots before. Like, you just didn't throw it to me all game, and then you're like,
Yeah.
now. And so I think it's not an excuse for the receivers. They do need to catch it, but I think it becomes easier for them with a rhythm, and they're not going to get a rhythm with Flacco. He's off target. He's not throwing the ball. He's not making good decisions. But again, it boils down to him. It would help him if the tackles and the receivers would step up. It would help the receivers if we had a better passer.
Yep. So yeah, we're gonna go on to and we'll move on real quick. Yeah, Dylan, I'm excited. By the way, we told you guys Joe's going to be Joe. Mike said by week 4, and everything that
So somewhere between week 4 and 6.
Yeah,
but
and
respectively,
it's between week 4 and 6, week 5.
Well, I know, but what I'm
You
saying
got
is, I honestly got to say you were right all along. We're not going to know what Kenny Pickett would have been able to
Yeah.
do here, but
Unfortunately,
No.
I would have
And
liked to see it.
I don't think Kenny is bringing it. Here's my thought. I don't think Kenny's bringing us into like this incredible contention. But you look at how close these games were till the end. It wouldn't be shocking to me if just with his mobility and maybe making like
safe throws.
maybe making safer throws and not turning it over quite as often. Like we said, Kenny had a turnover problem in the idea that he had like a 1-to-1 turnover touchdown ratio. Right now, Flacco's turnover ratio is like 3-to-1 turnovers to touchdown. So
yeah,
if
negative.
if Pickett didn't improve, which I think he would have here, if he didn't, and obviously Angel does, Angel loved him, but if Pickett didn't even improve, you still might only be one more win ahead, maybe
Yeah.
a sneak one from the Bengals, which by the way was Joe's best game. So
Yeah.
like maybe you still don't even beat the Bengals, but I just think the 2 games don't get away from you as much. The reality is we still might be 1-3 very realistically, but it doesn't look like shit. And you don't have a 40-year-old who's not going to get better. You have a 26-year-old Pickett who you're like, oh, he just got through the toughest part of the schedule. Maybe he can take off. We're not thinking that with Joe because if he looks bad now,
he's gonna look bad.
He's not
He's
getting
gonna look
any
bad.
better.
Yeah.
He's
Speaking of
over
bad,
the hill.
Speaking of bad, we're about to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. Brought to you by Allstate Insurance. Call Doug White. Get a good Allstate quote and switch your insurance. Save some money. Hit that good, bad, and ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll start off because I don't think I got any good so far in this young season. I'll say it. The good, the defense. Obviously, it's going to be the defense every week until quarterback gets better. They're finally getting turnovers. Back-to-back weeks, they get interceptions.
Mhm.
Granted, last week was beneficial. This week wasn't because you lost the turnover margin because of the quarterback we have. But either way, shout out to the defense for finding ways. And by the way, it was Ward. The biggest complaint for me is like Ward's a great corner, but he doesn't see. It seems like the bounces off him. Ward finally gets that interception. Delpit last week gets an interception. So hopefully it's a trend that happens more often this season. By that way, we can stay in the game. So my good is the defense finally getting some turnovers.
Tough to find good in a game like that, but I would agree with that one. I'll take the bad because I wrote it. So the bad for me is, in the big picture, is that we're now 1-3. On the positive side, I don't know if you guys, I don't know how many listeners out there saw my preseason prediction. I had us 0-4 after 4 games. So I'm the only one feeling pretty good because I'm like, I thought we were going to lose all 4 of the first games. Anyway, we're 1-3, and statistically, that puts us under 15% chance to make the playoffs. And why that's so bad is now you're going to like a crazy game away across the world in London to
It's
play.
winnable.
It's a winnable game, but you're not playing a pathetic team. You're playing a fairly competitive team in a crazy situation where teams like it just adds another factor. It's like playing in the rain or snow. You add another factor that like complicates. Does the better team actually win? I think we are the better team. We're still the underdog. The moral of the story is you have less than a 15% chance to make the playoffs if you're 1-3. If you're 1-4, you can pretty much close the book on the playoffs for this whole year. And so because of that Bengals game, Muff, and because you've gotten blown out twice, you're going to be feeling pretty awful after this week, and it's only going to get worse if you cannot steal a win this week.
Mike?
And that's bad.
The ugly, obviously, we just went over that, the quarterback issue. Yeah, we could all sit here and blame it on the offensive line. We could blame it on the quarterback. We could blame it on Kevin Stefanski. We're going to get more into that here in a little bit as well, but something had to change. We all thought this could be the guy because he knew the offense. Obviously, it's very clear that something is wrong. I mean, being 40 years old doesn't help. Not being able to move doesn't help. His play action even looks weaker. I don't know.
Slow.
Do you guys see
I
that?
I said that from week one. He looked very slow in the play action, and that's the catalyst of Kevin's offense.
He had one where he looked good this week.
Yeah.
Where he turned around, I was faked. I was like, all right, cool. That's what you need to do, man. But unfortunately, it didn't lead into a win whatsoever. It actually, I think that pass led into an interception, so didn't work.
Yeah, and somebody said this week, I'm trying to remember who it was, but somebody I couldn't quote this week said you basically cut out with the way Kevin Stefanski's offense, and I know it's always evolving, especially with Tommy Rees here. The way Kevin Stefanski's offense is historically run, there's so much play action which he looks bad doing, and there's a lot of bootlegging which he's not doing at all because he's too slow, and it would never work because to bootleg you need to have the threat to take off. You also need to be able to outrun the lineman and reset your feet. So somebody said that,
which is why I wanted 40%. Kenny Pickett.
Right. No, I was on board with you. Again, I didn't think Kenny would be great. I thought Kenny could give you more than Joe could at
exactly. I agree with that 100%
because he's mobile and a mobile quarterback. I mean, he's more mobile than Baker, and Baker successfully was able to run those rollouts. So if you have somebody who can actually take off running along with getting out for the rollout, that's big. But the point was somebody said you're basically cutting out about 40% of Kevin Stefanski's total playbook by not being able to bootleg, because now there is not even that trick of like you play action into a boot and you cut that field. So really like that quarterback position, it is ugly, and you don't know. Somebody said, I think we cover it later, but we may not even get to it. But somebody basically said earlier, like, things can't get any worse at quarterback. The reality is it can, because there are players right now rated even lower than Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And we've seen quarterbacks worse than him. And so realistically, it could be worse. You could be 0-4 and you could lose out. Like we saw Johnny Manziel, we never won another game. I believe Joe can win another game. The question is, how many weeks can you wait to see it?
And it can get worse if your quarterbacks that are your supposed future don't play well. That's a lot worse, because then you're starting all over
this is
again.
Perfect ugly, because that whole situation is shaky.
All right, on to the next topic. Game recap brought to you by Cleveland Ketchup. Go to clevelandketchup.com and use the code BEARDED. Get 10% off your order. They have good stuff. My wife loves the jalapeno mustard. She made a turkey and cheese sandwich today. She's like, where's that good mustard at? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to need to order some more because you're just eating it up. But either way, go to clevelandketchup.com. I recommend the jalapeno mustard. You will enjoy it.
He actually just sent us a package. It's going to be here tomorrow.
Nice.
Could
Shout out.
Giveaway on the show.
Anything.
Could be a giveaway. Could be anything.
I'll be ordering. What's the code?
Bearded.
I'm ordering. I need some.
It's good. I'm telling you, the jalapeno mustard is legit.
Mustard. Dude, the
I've brought this up before. I'm a bigger mustard guy than a ketchup guy.
Same.
My house has not had a bottle of Heinz mustard since I became an adult, and that's starting in like college. Starting by the time I turned like 19, I never have bought Heinz ketchup again since. And so to find a good ketchup,
it's good, man. It's all organic and fairly treated well. Nice.
I'm not
Good
even
products.
a big ketchup guy, but they have a bourbon and bacon ketchup.
Haven't
Put
tried
that
it
on
yet.
a burger. Oh,
Nice.
with some mustard. Any of
That's
their
when I use it.
mustards, man.
I love it on
It's
fries.
good.
I love it on a burger. I
Yep.
don't need it on anything else.
Right.
So Harden, guys, I haven't noticed anything wrong with our nickel corner lately. Is because Harden has stepped up at nickel.
Mhm.
He has been playing very well, which is why they cut Cam Mitchell, by the way. Harden right now, I looked it up on PFF. Where did I rate it? He is rated right now 68 as far as defensive. They call them performers, stopper performers, which is good for a guy who I think he's undrafted, right? Seems like they always get undrafted guys, but either way, Harden's stepping up this year, this week, last couple of weeks. No big plays that really seem to happen. So shout out to him, man, locking down that
Yeah,
nickel
so
corner.
it shouldn't excite anybody to see a cornerback playing or being rated 61, but it's worth mentioning that that's out of over 100 corners. And two, much like the conversation we just had with Cam Robinson, like you you need somebody to step in and play competent football. And so, yeah, if you are somewhere in like around the middle of the pack, that is such a giant upgrade to this team than to be what some of the players who are being replaced early. And this team is not being patient. Like if you stink, you are
You're
out
gone.
lately. And so, like uh, Cam Mitchell, who I actually had high hopes for out of the draft. Not high. I had hopes he could come in and develop into our long-term corner. It's what, year 3 for him, and he looks terrible. And like you just can't be a guy who's getting worse early in your career. You got to be showing something. And so again, seeing a guy be able to step in, take over that role, and at least hold it down to a much better degree than the guy before him is such a boost to this team. And for the record, he was picked 228 in the 7th round by
Oh,
Andrew
okay.
Berry in last year's draft. So again, this is a guy whose PFF score last year was 33. That's like what Cam Mitchell was doing this year. The difference is this year his PFF score is 60, which isn't good, but I'd much rather see a guy go from 33 up to 60 than I would see a guy go from like 50 down to the 30s. Like you just can't
Yeah.
go backwards right now. Not with this stacked of a defense. If we had nobody, then you can hold on to somebody. And maybe they bring Cam Mitchell back to the practice squad. Maybe he's hurt and we don't know. Who knows? But the reality is when you're this stacked, you can't even be average. You gotta be getting better.
And
Yep.
that's another thing people don't understand about the defense right now is that we are still ranked the #1 defense in the league, but turnovers do not help your defense. Getting right back on the
Nope.
field, them guys in scoring position already in the red zone
Short
does
field.
not
Yep.
help.
Yep.
For the Browns defense, you need to focus on yards allowed, not scoring allowed, because we turn it over so easily, and we've bafflingly been bad on special teams, which means these offenses they're going against are getting the ball
Yep.
on the 2, the 10, the 20.
Yep.
So they're going to give up points, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, but they're not going to give up yards, and that's how you know they're still up top.
I came prepared because that's a good stat. You can lead it. The average drive start this year for the Browns is the 26-yard line. The average start for the opposite team, 38.
Yeah, not okay.
So I mean, you're basically almost at midfield.
And you have
to
one of the best
start.
punters in the league, which means
Yeah.
it's not happening off punts.
It's happening off
because you're-
turnovers.
It's off kick returns, and it's happening
Yep.
off of turnovers.
Yeah, and
Kills
it goes right into our next point on defense.
Almost the 40?
Yeah, almost
Oh,
40.
God.
Speaking of, you said look at yardage when it comes to this defense. We held the Lions to the lowest output yardage this year by the Lions at 277 total. That's total yards. That's rushing is 109 and passing is 168. They average over 300 the last 3 games until they got to us. So that shows you how good this defense is. Pretty
And
happening.
That offense is no slouch. That offensive line is pretty damn good. I'll give them that. It's the defense, man. That's all we got right now. That's it. Unfortunately, guys. I mean,
yeah. And one of the
Unfortunately.
problems, though, the only problem this defense has had is this week, and a lot of it has to do with their quarterback. He's not a superstar. What he's very good at is getting rid of the
Consistent.
ball. And we talked about when he's under pressure,
90.
He drops from the 6th best player to the 6th best to 26th best scoring, but he can get rid of the ball so fast that even if you blitz him, he'll beat you. He'll
Under
get rid of the
pressure,
ball
he's
before you can
under
get there.
pressure. He's 90.6 passer rating. When he has a clean pocket, 126. I
Yeah.
mean, that's good. I
It's
mean,
a
he
huge
does
drop, and it's
drop,
just
but
good
yeah,
either. He's good against
good.
pressure because
Yeah.
he can handle pressure by getting rid of the
Yeah.
ball. And the defensive line, as good as they are, this week they just didn't get the sacks that we've seen the last couple of weeks and the pressures. And they didn't play a bad game. They did not dominate like they used to. And exactly what I said last week, the running game versus the Browns, the first few weeks when teams have a back that goes through the middle, the Browns are set to defeat that because if they're rushing, they can come off their guy and make that tackle, and they clear room for Schlesinger by by opening up the line. This team can run laterally and incredibly dangerously with Gibbs, and can also toss the ball to him. And we talked about it. That was going to be a much more difficult task. So even though the defense held up in yards, they were able to have some success running the ball against us this week, where other
Yeah.
teams will not. This
Let's be
will be one of the best teams we will play full rounded, but especially on offense, because they just are a matchup problem that we don't see for some other teams on the ground.
And you could tell Jim Schwartz was being a little more conservative than normal. Obviously, they weren't blitzing as hard as they normally would. You didn't see a ton of blitzing. Obviously, you got to hold those guys back to stop Gibbs from running up the middle.
Yeah.
Not knowing if there's going to be a pitch over to him or what. Have to force yourself to the left or right side of the field.
And they have
Right.
two good running backs, so they can switch it up on you too. So it's different from what we've seen. The Derrick Henry is a power back through the middle, and that's what he's been his whole career, and they knew that's what was coming, which is why they were so confident against him and Jacobs, who I think are just as good of backs or arguably better than what we just saw, but they're different. Their strength doesn't hit our strength the same way. So,
Yep. On to our new segment. It's called Clip of the Week. It's brought to you by Lego Heads. Go there and get some clippers done. Get your beard clipped, your nice little bald fade. I got mine done today, actually. Got a little trim on the beard, got a little fade, got a little
Going
lineup.
up there Saturday.
Look crisp.
All taken care of.
Yeah, I went there today. Shout out to Marlon and that Lego Heads crew. It's located in Berea. Let them know that we sent you, but play the clip.
Bro, I make that damn play, bro. It's a big time play. I gotta catch them shits, bro. I catch them shits every day in practice. I make that play, bro. Shit frustrating. Yeah, bro, that was. It would have been, what, 17-20 after that? That would have been a big play, touchdown, 17-20. We dropped that, pumped the ball. They took a punt return back, man. Man, as a receiver on this team, bro, as a wide receiver, I gotta make those fucking plays, man. These shit, bro. Yeah, man. Any ball that come my way, bro, I expect to make that play. Man, when I don't make that play, that shit frustrating. I don't like that. Simple as that, bro. I don't give a damn where. If it's coming my way, I gotta make that play. Simple as that.
In these moments, how much do you then lean on the defense and their stance they're able to?
Man, defense been doing their thing all season, man. I'm tired of leaning on defense. It's time for us to make some damn plays on it.
Jerry Jeudy, in response to how he's been playing and how he's been dropping the ball at a average rate for him outside of last year, by the way. Last year was probably, but actually he dropped it 8% last year, which we didn't care because his output, he got the ball a lot. So he obviously would drop the ball more. But what's the problem is he's not getting the ball a lot, but he's dropping a lot. He's second in the league with 4 drop passes, and they're keeping him accountable. And of course, he's saying the right things right now. But Judy, stop talking and start doing.
yeah. Well, it's hard. So here's the plus and minus of this for me. The minus of it is exactly what you said. Like, I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. The plus is there's a huge contingent of fans out there like nobody on this team is accountable. And I feel like this is an accountability statement on the offense of, yeah, this is our fault. I'm dropping, like, not even like, people were mad that he said, like, look at the tape. I like when they asked, can he get open still? And he said, look at the tape. People thought that was a hit on Flacco. And understandably, but this is the opposite. This is him saying, okay, I'm not doing what I need to do. The offense is not doing what we need to do. the defense is absolutely carrying us, and we're sick of it. And so for me, it obviously will mean more if they can actually go do it. But I would much rather hear this than guys dodging questions. Like coaches, fine. Dodge the questions. Don't tell me shit. I don't care. Players, I want them to say, I fumbled. This is on me. I dropped the ball. I need to be better. I want guys to recognize that because it gives you the platform to go and be better by calling yourself out, basically.
I did like how he at the end, obviously everybody knows the defense has been dominant, but he knows that the offense has fallen off of the world's biggest table, apparently. I do like that he pointed that out. Like, what's up, man. Like you said, go out there and do it now. Now is your time to shine. You did it last year, man. You had a 1,000+ yard season. Let's do it, man. I know this is the roughest part of our roster, our thing coming up as well. I mean, we're almost through that, but it's time. It is time.
Yeah.
And whether that be the quarterback change or the offensive line people we're bringing in to help that situation get better, let's make it happen.
Yeah. Speaking of offense, we're going to move on to the offense. Right now, the offense is ranked number 31st. Red zone, they're tied for 8th. Goal to goal, they're tied for 11th. Touchdown percentage, they're ranked 31st. 3 and outs, they're at 7. They're ranked 17th. EPA drives, they're ranked 31. Estimated points average per drive.
Yeah.
Is
And I want to make this
31.
very clear. Why are they not ranked last in 3rd and outs? Because Quinshad Judkins has run for a first down on 1st down like 5 times. Otherwise, if Quinshon wasn't running to the level he's running at, so like everything you read off is
Be
bad.
worse.
And it would all be worse if Quinshon Judkins wasn't playing like out of his mind the last 2 weeks.
See, you've read my notes. You read right into what I want to say. The reason why Judkins is so important, according to True Media Sports, the Browns are 29th in the NFL in yards before contract. That's 0.57. But 6th in yards after contact, which is 3.43. To take it a step further, Judkins leads the league in yards after contact with 5.14, giving him a lot of the credit for yards after run is because of him. So that's how good Judkins is. Without him, our running game would be non-existent, which means that we'll be ranked 32 in every category offensively right now. And by the way, he's doing this with the stacked box because they know they ain't going to pass it on him. They're like, Flacco can't throw. Let's stack the box and protect and defend the run. So once you open up that offense, and I heard a lot of people complain, well, he doesn't have the breakaway speed that Chubb has. He hasn't even been heavy. He does it.
I don't think he does.
He doesn't even have the opportunity to show it yet because
Nick Chubb was on a pace. Had he not got injured in Pittsburgh, Nick Chubb was on a pace to put up a Hall of Fame resume. So, so if you're thinking that they were going to draft anybody in this or most drafts who is going to live up to Nick Chubb for several years in the NFL was going toe-to-toe with Derrick Henry as the absolute best runner in the entire league. So 2 things. 1, set your expectations. You're not, it's like drafting a tackle and being like, he's not Joe Thomas. Like, well, okay.
Yeah.
He's not the
he's
greatest
Hall of
tackle
Famer
we've ever friggin' had. But and the other thing is he's only a rookie and he literally is 21 years old and he played 4 years of college. So I'm not saying he's going to get this giant burst in speed. The guy can get a little bit faster. He's not at the peak of his physical ability. So like he's a big back. For his size, he's fast enough.
Yep. Yeah,
he hasn't
and he hasn't had the opportunity to. So so yeah, and also while Ford been playing better. We're going to hit the quarter running backs first. Ford's been playing better. He's pass protection a little bit. He's been on third down a lot because he's a better pro.
Yeah.
Can
I give you a quick passing stat because people are pissed? I hear so often like, why is Jerome Ford out there? Jerome Ford passing grade right now is 71.3. There is no starter on this team, including the lineman, who has a higher pass blocking grade than Jerome Ford. And we know from years and years he can catch the ball. So until Dylan Sampson, who I think should be more involved, And if we start getting out on offense longer and don't get 3 and outs, Dylan Sampson can find other ways to be involved on any down. And heck, you put him in around the red zone where you don't need to pass block, and now you've got an incredible weapon. He's also probably the 2 back if you ever duel the backfield. But my point is, yes, I also want Dylan Sampson out there more. Jerome Ford's blocking on
He's the
passing
best.
downs is the best on the team, and he is a threat to the defense if they have to throw it to him.
Yeah.
That's why he's out there. So be patient with this process. He has a need.
Yeah.
They're using him the way, and I'm not comparing them because people will kill me. People used to always talk about what made Belichick a good coach, besides the fact that he had Tom Brady. He was good at finding something that a guy did well and making sure they could use him in that role. Maybe you stunk 3 out of 4 downs, but you were really good at rushing the passer on 3rd and longs, and so you get the player in that moment or whatever it might be. Maybe you stink at running regular routes, but you are a downfield threat when you need to go long on the deep ball. Ford's role on this team is a 3rd down back who can protect Flacco, who can't move, and still is a threat to make a play on that play. That's it. That's all he's being used for. He's 49th out of 56 running backs. He just does one thing well.
So you heard it here first. Chad compared Kevin to the great, one of the greatest coaches of all time.
You really want to piss people off? Right
now,
now, Kevin Stefanski has been a head coach in the NFL.
They're comparable.
Yeah, you've seen this. Their win-loss record is
comparable.
Almost the same in the first 5 years of their career. Even with Kevin's terrible last year, they have almost the same win percentage over the first 5 years of their career. So, like,
people's argument was like, yeah, Brady, he had Tom Brady. Yeah, Kevin hasn't had his Tom Brady yet. So once he finds his Tom Brady, then he can take off. So give him time.
I want to bring up James' comment real quick. James says Ford block touched so hard and knocked the wind out of him. Remember, I texted you guys when that happened.
Yes,
he
laid a block. He laid a block and knocked down maybe one of the best 5 pass rushers in the game. Put him right on his ass, and because he's not. And then he went out for a pass.
Yes.
He wasn't even blocking on that play. He was just chipping, and he literally launched himself at this guy, and then he went out and ran his route. And it's like, that's why he's out there.
Yeah, what changed the game for Sampson is the Baltimore game when there's a Queen
got run over.
Yeah, got ran over like 4 or 5 times. So that changed. They say, all right, he's not ready yet to pass block. Let's bring back in Ford. Speaking of, let's do the wide receiver shakeup. We kind of hit it up a little bit already. Tillman's down. I believe Bond will be WR2. I could be wrong on that, but we'll find out. I think he's improved a lot. Judy needs to catch the ball. Thrash is going to have an opportunity this week. Thrash, and even maybe, like you pointed out, Larvadan might be in the slot, and he's going to show his worth or his value. And I feel bad, just like I feel bad for Bell, who couldn't stay healthy because I was big on him. I like Tillman, but I feel bad. But hey, man, you gotta have the opportunity to show up. If not, someone's going to take your position.
You got to be out there. I agree with you. I actually think Bond probably is going to step into wide receiver 2. They obviously have been trying to get him out there any chance
they draw up plays for him in the beginning of the game,
and he can do some tricky stuff, and that's all he could do the first few weeks. He wasn't effective in the passing game. Last week he was good. I think I'll go over the PFF scores, but I think they match. We saw him play last game, and anybody that's been watching this team,
was he the top one?
They would look at his last week's game and go, "Oh, that looks different. He was open more often. He made bigger catches. He was more of a tool." Week 1, he had a 53 PFF score. Orange, barely able to be on the field. The next week, 49. That's not a player that belongs on the field. The next week, 59. That's up to about NFL, kind of an average player. Last week, 74. The fact that the first 2 weeks, he averaged about 50, 51, and the last 2 weeks, he's been 60 and 74, just shows you that he's catching on, and that's why I think he's the next guy up, because he's the guy with upside who they've been trying to move to this spot.
He's also done that without a training camp.
Correct.
That's something to remember, fellas. So this is his fourth. This will be his fourth game. Well, last week was his fourth game. So
He's been
technically,
here a month. Every
Yeah.
other rookie has been here for like 5 months.
Yep. So he's gonna something special about him. On to the tight ends. Not a lot of people are. I mean, I was talking to Mike about this. Not a lot of people are talking about how Njoku seems to be losing some steam as far as speed here.
It was not a good tight end day. Just in general.
In general, yeah.
I would say this: Njoku still looks like he can make yards after the catch and make someone miss when he gets open and gets the ball.
He's just
I'm
not fast.
seeing that happen as often.
He's not fast. His speed is down. I don't mean to body shame anybody, but he has seemed to gain a little weight, and I think that has slowed his speed down a little bit. I noticed it the other day. He had his shirt off, and I'm like, man, I shouldn't talk. I got a dad about myself.
I do know that he has been working on like bulking up from early in his career to later, so he can block and be a more all-around tight end. That was something the Browns wanted him to do. I would almost wonder if he is shifting into that role of like a blocking tight end who can also make some big plays for you in the passing game when needed and be like a third down option and playing 2 tight end sets. And Fannin is shifting into that receiving tight end role. My only complaint about him is 2 weeks in a row, a big drop on third down. And when we turned the ball over, the other team scored and it changed the game. So he's now falling in the guy who is known all through camp and known all through college as he just never drops it. He only dropped about 1 pass, Tommy Reese said in camp, and he's already dropped 2 in 2 different games. And so that's not a red flag to me. That's fine. But like, it's what leads me to wonder if Judy has had the dropsies his whole career. When you're seeing guys that don't have that dropping the ball, that's where I'm like wondering, okay, is just the rhythm off? Is this just not happening?
Well, there's 2 things. I did see David Njoku eating dino nuggets with Cleveland ketchup on the sideline, but that's besides the point right now. Honestly,
in Detroit, he's eating Cleveland ketchup in Detroit.
Yes, in Detroit. Why not?
Take it with him.
Harold Fannin is supposed to be a run blocker, pass blocker, a good guy to be able to chip block if needed as well. But it seems his numbers have gone down there as well for his run and pass block. I mean,
yeah, I Fanning's a rookie. I know he came up hot, started off hot, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, he's gonna make mistakes. I think that pass
started off against the Bengals and the Ravens, who now we know
not good
are
defense.
Not as good as covering.
Yeah, that defense is horrible.
This is why a month into the season is way different than the first week or two, because now, like, I think the Ravens came after us in a different way than
we could have beat. We were in that game. It was just 2 plays on defense that changed that.
It looks bad. The numbers look bad after the game is over. But
it's the same as the Detroit
like the Bengals game.
Yeah,
much like the Bengals game. When you look at like the total offensive and defensive numbers versus the score, you're like, oh, they made like 2 big plays, and then we lost the game. We lost all momentum.
It's the same thing with Detroit.
All in the fourth quarter. Yeah, all
Detroit.
in the fourth quarter.
That punt return killed it. It killed the momentum. You could tell they just was like the defense was gassed. They're like crap.
They had a punt block against the Ravens that also they scored off of, and that was the big
changed the momentum.
Where it's like they're ahead, but you have a chance to score, and then you do something like that, and you're like, well, the momentum is gone, and it's too late in the game. You lose some momentum in the second quarter, fine. You lose momentum in the fourth quarter, you're done. You just don't have time. And guys are gassed, and
offensive tackle position review. A lot of shifting, a lot of moving around, a lot of parts just not being consistent. And that's another issue with the offensive line. No consistency. Who's blocking? You don't know their tendencies. You don't know how they act, how they respond.
Penalties.
It's ugly, man. That's why you can't always put it on the quarterback. That's why I say it's 50-50. Evo 25-25-25 as far as blame, because outside, well, a little higher because the defense doesn't get any blame. Special teams.
We won't know we're the most penalized team right now.
We honestly won't know for sure until another quarterback comes in. And if it doesn't look any better, then you're like, oh, these other issues are more impactful. If receivers start playing better and the line blocks better, like we saw in the past in other cases, that's when I'll be like, okay, less on the quarterback than I thought, because a new guy, and I don't think it's a guy who's breaking the world, but a new guy's coming in and we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
For me, the tackle breakdown comes down to this. We don't know when Conklin's going to be back. It's a very unpredictable injury. From a rehab perspective, without knowing the severity of a dislocated elbow, I could never tell you, could this person be back in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks? Obviously, if they thought he'd be back in around 4, or they would have IR'd him and given themselves a chance to bring somebody up. The fact they didn't means they're probably predicting somewhere around 3, 4 weeks, and now he's already missed 3 in a row. Yeah,
Mhm.
he's missed 3. So, will he be back this week? I think they're hoping so. So, I would say right now it's Conklin is pending. If he's back, he's your starting right tackle. What you're looking at now is Cornelius Lucas, who has stunk. KT Levinston, who has also kind of been bad, but is a lot less experienced player. So he's somebody who I actually think would get better over time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Thayer Mumford has, to me, high upside. I don't know how we got our hands on him. He's a really good prospect, but he hasn't played at all this year, and he has almost no experience. So you're looking at Levinston as Thayer as your upside guys that can develop, and Cam Robinson is the guy who can step in and play the left side if they're not there. So
I
best
agree.
case scenario to me, you got Cam Robinson and Conklin in as your 2 bookends, and knowing if either one of them can't go or isn't your best option, Levinston and Munford are both now probably been here long enough. Mumford didn't even dress last week, but they've been here long enough to probably step in and be a guy that can play for you.
What I want to know is how he even hurt his elbow. He went out because of an eye, and then now he's
In
done
practice.
with an elbow. Oh, in practice. Oh, that guy.
It happened in the first
Okay.
practice of the
That's
week.
Them damn Dino Nuggets. Getting
Nuggets.
everybody, man.
All right, let's switch gears here. We're going to, I was going to skip this, but we have to talk about special teams.
Special teams sucks.
Yeah, special
Let's
teams.
just get
Listen,
that
there's
over
a
with.
lot going on with special teams. Bubba Bertrand needs to focus. Yeah, you had Grant Delpit saying we gave up on the play because the guy stepped out. Like, you go to the whistle blows, bro. Like, what is going on with special teams? He has fallen off. He went from highly favored, sought after special teams coach. They even made him an
We
assistant
moved on from a pretty decent special teams coach for
to
him
get
because
him.
I think they're like,
And they
we
gave
want him. He used to be a Brown. He'll coach here.
Yeah, and they gave him a title of assistant coach because they wanted to entice him to come here because he was highly sought after, and he has not performed well. Bubba Bertrand, you're on the block, bro. You better step up your team. You had a good week 3, but you got to be
Angel,
consistent,
you're on
my
the block
friend.
right now. You better calm
Things
down,
looked
buddy.
consistently better under Mike Prefer, who I was not like infatuated with. But I would say if you compare the last 2 years, Mike Prefer looks better than Bubba Bentrone looked. And we had this talk in our offseason podcast. We expected Kevin Stefanski not to get fired, despite everybody thinking last year was his fault. We, as a group, thought, I bet he doesn't get fired, but I bet your offensive coordinator is gone, and he was. And I think all of us said, I bet Bubba Ventrone is gone, and he wasn't, which made every one of us say, well, he just needs to bounce back then. And for me, I've said this before, not everybody agrees. The kicking game, the kicker making field goals is not on the special teams coach to me, because Bubba Ventrone was, what the heck does he know about kicking compared to the kicker? He was never a kicker. He, like, you know what I mean? Like, special teams guys have to plan like the scheme. They have to get their guys ready. They have to strategize when you do certain types of kicks. They have to have the punt protection and the punt coverage ready. You have to put together any onside kick packages you have. But like, you can't control how a kicker kicks. A kicker has to work on that himself, and with a specific like mechanics coach. That's not the same to me. It's not like a quarterback's coach who actually works with the quarterback on throwing. So that's different. He more has to keep the guy's head on straight and just be like a support system. What he is in charge of is everything else, and everything else blows. So, and you did miss a kick this week, but it was over 55 yards, and like, you're not going to expect any kicker like to make all of those. So like, if he misses them all, okay, small sample size. He's kicked one kick over 55 yards and he missed it. He may make the next 3 in a row.
Chad,
I'm not that worried about that.
Yeah,
what I'm worried about is the scheme. and guys
Yes.
quitting on plays.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into a game that we like to call the blame game because we're going to blame somebody. Darn it. Blame game. Yes. So we're going to blame.
We put up a
Okay.
poll
Yeah, put
on
up a poll.
whatever you want to call it. Browns blame game. Welcome to another week of Whose Fault Was This? Cleveland versus Detroit edition. And we put up Kevin Stefanski, Joe Flacco, the offensive line, and special teams. And as of right now, we want your answers in the comments. But right now, Kevin Stefanski is leading by 45%, Joe Flacco at 24%, O-line at 26%, and special teams at 5%. Comment who your blame game goes towards this week, because we're looking forward to seeing that.
And go to our X and vote if you're there now. You got 24 hours to put your vote. We got 42 votes up on right now.
First of all, we quickly need to rename this. What is this? Who Burnt the Browns or something? Brought to you by Bearded Bastard Barbecue Sauce.
Yes.
We'll get
Bearded
into that
Bastards brought to you by Bearded Bastards. Blame game brought to you by Bearded Bastards Barbecue Sauce. That's a lot of bees on the Bearded Browns
burned the
podcast.
Browns?
Yes. Oh, that's actually probably better. But go ahead.
I'm going with Joe, and we've talked about it throughout the podcast. We can get through it quick. It just he turned over the ball 3 times today. He had 2 interceptions and a fumble.
2 interceptions and a fumble. Yeah.
I mean, the line was bad, and part of the fumble is part on him. Blame goes around. If I had to pick one person to swap out in that game who I thought would have made the difference, it's a better quarterback. And so for me, it's Joe.
I agree. I'm going to say the same exact thing.
Yeah, we're all going to agree. And those that are blaming Kevin for Detroit.
Did it look like a bad scheme?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I
3.5 quarters, we were playing neck and neck with
literally against one of the best offenses in the league. And the reason why you couldn't move is because your guy gave up the ball twice and he fumbled it in the most important part. And he's not hitting guys that are open. I mean, sure, if you want to put offensive line on there, great. But Kevin should be the last person. Yeah.
When everybody agrees that team is much better than you, and everybody agrees that this team is much better than us, and you go toe to toe with them for 3 quarters or more, the only thing that can be is coaching.
Yeah.
What else makes you compete with a team much better than you? It's coaching, guys. So he's not off the hook for the year. He's definitely not off the hook for last year. He'll probably never be off the hook for the people that think it's his fault Baker's gone. This game can't be his fault.
It's insane. It's just insane to always blame Kevin. You have and by the way, all you that are blaming Kevin wanted this quarterback. You wanted Flacco. Flacco, 2023, he's going to throw bombs and we're going to score. Jerry Jeudy's going to have 80 touchdowns in 3 games. You wanted this guy. And now you're blaming Kevin instead of the guy you wanted? Do you think another coach is going to come in here and make Joe Flacco look better? He can't move. We talked about it earlier. His play action sucks. He can't even move his left, but he's got 2 left feet. And you want to blame Kevin? He's got literally cut his play calling in half. If you want to blame Kevin to say, well, maybe he picked Joe Flacco, okay, maybe that's a good argument. Maybe he did. But maybe he had to because Kenny Pickett couldn't move because he had a half a leg.
Right.
So let's stop blaming Kevin. Listen, there are things that Kevin isn't perfect. There's some stuff that I'm worried about with Kevin. But to sit there and say it's Kevin's fault that we lost this game is insane because 3-1 turnover ratio. The quarterback coach does not throw the ball.
Here's my favorite take. I saw a bunch of people over the last 2 weeks saying we should fire Kevin and promote Schwartz. And I'm like, so you have the best defensive coordinator we've ever had in this city for 25 years, and you want to take him away from the defense to be the head coach of this team because you hate Kevin that much that you want to take away our defensive coordinator. Are you out of your mind? You want
who did we do that
the
with?
Offense to come around,
Mike Pettin,
and you want to keep the defense exactly as is, change nothing on the defensive side of the ball.
We did that with Mike Pettin and somebody else. Mike Pettin and who else was it?
Romeo Crennel moved from DC to head coach after a good defensive year. Look, it's just like I said, Kevin has problems. People think I'm an apologist. I've pointed out over and over the issues Kevin has. A game like this, when you are very outmatched and you compete, that is a coaching thing, and we have to give credit to coaching. We only got. I don't know that we're gonna have time for the matchup discussion this week.
We'll get to that
That's
some
that
other
we can
time
hit
this week if we
week.
can.
The last thing I have on the outline is that media take, and it basically comes down to Dylan Gabriel. So I think that's a pretty good way for us to close the show. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I'm looking 50. Oh,
And by the way, for those that want Schwartz as a head coach, he's 29 and 51. 29 and 51 as a head coach.
The team you just lost to fired him. So
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
let's move on from that. That's
well,
ridiculous.
Tony
I had
Gross,
a-
12 minutes ago, news. According to sources, Dylan Gabriel is a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this week against the Vikings, and Joe Flacco will serve as his backup.
That's
Tony Gross,
important.
Again,
12 minutes
That's
ago.
important. That's important because 99.9% of people want Dylan to start because they thought Shador is going to back up, be the second in.
I've been waiting to
Shador's
put this
That
up.
is huge. That is huge. Let me tell you how huge that
the
is. That-
backup.
the fact that Shador is not the backup is huge, because if they were confident in Shador right now, they would put him at number 2.
They're not moving up a hierarchy. They're moving. You know what they're doing? And I'm not saying Dylan's going to be a great starting quarterback. People know I really like Dylan, but I saw him as a early Jacksonville Gardner Minshew level of expectation, like a kind of maybe 500 in a mediocre situation, maybe a little better than 500 in a good situation type of quarterback. I think he's like, mid Baker Mayfield. But don't let that disguise from the fact that what this is doing is, if they make this switch, Joe is going exactly where Joe belongs on this team. The veteran backup who can help everyone else on the team by being there, but he is best served by not having to play very much. When Mike said he'd play 4 to 6 games a season, we would all have been better off if that was as a backup who filled in, not starting the season. Whether it had been Flacco after Pickett, which is I think what Angel and I both thought was going to be the plan, or now whether it's him behind Gabriel being there and being ready to step back in if needed. But the moral of the story is, like, this is significant. It's getting significant if more people are reporting it. I want to see it by somebody in the NFL that I trust, and I don't trust the Browns media because they speculate too much. And I don't trust this. CBS reports it after Rizzo ranted about it all morning, and then CBS says he's hearing some discussion that there could be a change, and then ESPN Cleveland says, hey, this source from CBS says there will be a change. And I'm like, wait, why aren't you sourcing Rizzo if he's actually has the source? Why are you saying our own Tony Rizzo has the source? So,
by the way, Tony Rizzo is sharing what
RG3 posted.
is
It's
posted.
Grossi, yeah.
So another source.
So this is what I'm saying. People, and again, maybe the Browns want people to be thinking Dylan could start for the team. I'm not getting excited about it till I hear it from either Kevin or an NFL insider who I trust to not be wrong. I want to quote Brad Stainbrook really quick. Brad Stainbrook's report that this was happening actually says Browns Kevin Stefanski and OC Tommy Rees are leaning towards starting a different quarterback in London against the Vikings, but a final decision isn't expected to be made until Wednesday, per a league source. Who's that league source? I don't know. But again, it's starting to spin circular where it's like, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. So I'm not going to. I actually want to see Dylan, but I'm not going to get my hopes up till I see it. Here's the only thing I want to get into Dylan before we finish. There are two. I think it's a very important talking point. There's two very different thought processes on when you start Dylan. In my opinion, you start Dylan when Dylan is ready. In other people's opinion, and it's totally fair if you think this, you start Dylan when it is the best option for the team. Great. Those two, I think, make perfect sense. Here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing someone like Daryl Ryder and several others, I'm just pointing him out because he said it definitively, says you cannot play Dylan Gabriel for at least 2 weeks because you can't play him against the Vikings because their defensive coordinator is too dangerous, and you can't play him against the Steelers
because you don't win in Pittsburgh.
And they'll kill him because it's Pittsburgh, and we're scared of Pittsburgh. So we're scared of the Vikings defense, I guess. I'm not. But I get it. They're difficult.
some are
Almost
scared of
everybody we
Pittsburgh.
play is difficult. But you can't play him against the Vikings because it's a bad week, and also the Vikings defense is too good, and you can't play him against the Steelers because they're too scary. And then you've got the opposite side where people like Jason Lloyd are saying you have to play him right now because those scary defenses are going to kill Joe Flacco, and you can basically chalk up a loss if Flacco is out there. So you
So we're
have
gonna
to
get killed
play him
regardless.
because you can't get worse. I think both
Yeah.
thought processes are wrong. So it's funny because one says you have to start him, one says you can't. I think both are wrong because the thought process is wrong. You cannot play Dylan because if he's not ready
You
or
don't play
he
him.
like is still getting momentum because he is a better option than Joe, you have to play him barring he's actually ready to go out there. And I don't think you can sit him in fear either because, yeah, Miami might be an easier defense. You're going to play some other really good defenses later. So you can't just sit him for those and play him only the weeks that are easier. So I think the only thought process is if Dylan is ready, he's probably a better option for this team. Get him out there. If he's not ready, it's not brutal to not play him this week. I don't think you hold him out against the Steelers. I think you ask the same question the next week. Is he ready? If so, he's going to have to eventually play the Steelers.
Hey, hold on a second.
Let's go.
So look at this comment. It said if he's not ready, he shouldn't be a backup. Okay. If he's ready enough to come in, if Flacco gets hurt, then he's ready.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I mean,
that's not how you want to
that's
start
not
a
how
player.
you want to start. You don't want Flacco. You don't want it to game plan for a quarterback like Flacco and then him get hurt and then bring in your backup. You never want to do that.
Sure.
You want to prep your backup to be the starter with a whole week of prep. You don't want him come in a la DTR last second against the Ravens, and then you go, Kevin sucks, but why didn't he change the game plan 5 minutes before the game? Idiots,
Somebody who
because it's
comes
5
in for
minutes
an
before the
injury.
game.
Somebody who comes in for an injury, you're doing that out of desperation because he's your next best option. Somebody you're prepping and putting in voluntarily, you're doing because he's the best option for the team. And if he's a rookie, it's also the best option for the start of his career. If you have any hope that he is going to be a part of your future, you don't think game to game. You think bigger picture. What's the best for Dylan over the next 4 years? Is it getting him out early with a potential for him to continue with, like we've said this very, very highly. Shedeur Sanders has some upside, maybe higher than Dylan Gabriel. The reason he's not ahead of Dylan Gabriel now is because you risk his future by him continuing to have bad habits and be playing scared if you put him out there now. That's why Dylan is ahead of him, because right now Dylan is more ready. So the idea that like he can't continue to get even more ready and he can do better this year if he just waited one more week. Like every week counts, guys. The speed of the game is different. People keep saying like, oh, he had so much college experience. If college experience mattered, DTR would be the best quarterback in this league. And he'd be much better than somebody who played like Jaden Daniels. But college experience only gets you so far. It matters. It's just not the most important thing. It helps him be more ready than Shedeur, but it doesn't help him be more ready than Joe. They see this in practice, and we heard through training camp, Joe looked better than Dylan all camp. We heard that, right? Consistently. Well, guess what?
Not right now.
That doesn't mean week 5, week 6, week 7, Joe still looks better than Dylan, because we just talked about how different Isaiah Bond looks.
I don't believe any of those reports people say in the offseason, because Joe Flacco looks horrible. If they thought Joe Flacco was better than the quarterbacks we had, they're liars, because they're all flipping the script now on Joe that they advocated for. They're saying Dylan was not an NFL quarterback. Now they're advocating for him to start over the guy that they were pining for.
Here's one thing we have not brought up this entire show, guys. Just remember, Deshaun Watson can come back.
Yeah, they elected not to do that. Yeah. Hopefully they don't, because they don't want to pay him.
Not to open his window, which means he's not going to be back for at least a month now.
So another 4 weeks. But my point is my point. People are now saying start Dylan because you saw Flacco. We said he's going to suck, and he sucks. So it's not all him.
But
I think you can
the
play
one thing, like we
better.
said, the one thing we don't see though is the film, if they're watching film and Flacco understands what happened and where the mistake was and why he missed the throw, but Dylan doesn't, then you can't start Dylan. That's my point. It's like,
Yeah.
we don't see him in practice anymore. Practice is now closed. It used to be open to the public. We haven't seen it. What do we know? We know Dylan is more mobile. We know Dylan can throw well. We know Dylan can make quick decisions. We saw it in Baltimore against a soft defense. We saw it against soft defenses in training camp. But what we know is whatever he can do in practice, he will be worse when the game comes. So if they're not seeing what they need out of him yet in practice, that's why they're like, well, then he's going to be worse in the game. The difference with Flacco is he probably looks about the same in practice in the game because he is a really, really old veteran. Whereas like a rookie is probably going to look worse in the game. So if he doesn't have it in practice, that's why he's not out there. And that's all to say, he might go out there this week. He's catching up. It like the thought though that they drafted him, he must be developed and ready to play day one. If that was true, he would have played day one because Flacco's not good. He obviously, they wanted to see him have a chance to look better, and that's coming. The downside to him not playing this week in Pittsburgh and waiting for Miami is he gets more prep time if he does play this week because this is a weird week, a weird travel week. It would be better for him to be practicing in Cleveland than it would be to be practicing your first time in London. But would it be so then you get to Pittsburgh? Would it be better for him to be practicing and then going and playing his first game in an away game against a really rough crowd and a really tough team? Yeah, probably. The upside is he gets more time to prepare. He gets a better week of practice. He gets to play in front of the home crowd.
And Pittsburgh's defense isn't as solid as it used to be. I'm not saying
what you're balancing is you're balancing the best defense you're going to play in the next 3 weeks is Minnesota. The second best is Pittsburgh. The third best is Miami. But to wait for Miami means you're giving up 2 weeks without him. So the Browns have to balance what's most important. Playing him against a tougher situation with a rough week of practice against the Vikings. Playing him in a rough environment, but with a good week of practice against the Steelers, or playing him in a, I'm not even going to call Cleveland a good environment because people are going to be chanting Sanders like the whole time he's out there. Some people, but playing him in a better week of practice against a better matchup against the home crowd. But is that so valuable that you give up a chance to beat Pittsburgh if he's your best option against Pittsburgh when you are in contention for the division, even at 1-3? The Bengals suck. The Ravens are falling apart, although
the division's close.
And the thing I can say about the Steelers with the quarterback they have is I don't think they're going to keep getting better. If you can take them out early, you can take them out late, and you can have a chance against the Ravens later, and you'll definitely beat the Bengals later.
Also, look at Pittsburgh's wins. Pittsburgh's are winning against pretty bad teams. That Minnesota, Carson Wentz was their quarterback. He can't move. He's old. But stay tuned to our socials. We're going to break the news once we hear from our sources who's going to start at quarterback. So
here's our alpha dog for the week.
Our alpha dog for the week. Oh, we have one. There it is. Yes.
We literally said we're not doing an alpha dog, and Mike
just dropped a bomb. He went rogue.
Yes, alpha dog. Alpha dog. Oh, the alpha dog is for when we win. No, I'm giving an alpha dog.
The alpha dog are all the alpha dog is all the sources out there reporting that Dylan's going to start. That's the alpha dog. Until we see it. Either way, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for tuning in on X. 142 people on there. Appreciate all the love and comments. Continue to support all our socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, obviously. Until next week, hopefully I can wear my victory chain, and we're bringing you a Victory Tuesday show, which I think we might. Until next time, like always, go Browns.
Go Browns.